doing, everybody? Welcome in on this Monday afternoon live here on the Maize and Blue Review. Weekdays at 1 o'clock, we are here. We're part of Rivals.com. Talking about the latest and what's going on with Michigan sports. And over the weekend, a pair of Wolverines with the NBA playoffs starting, making headlines. We'll get to that. Also, the transfer portal in college basketball as applies to Michigan. That thing's buzzing right now, and we'll get into that. But we'll start with a little defensive tackle preview as we take a look at what the Wolverines are doing right there in the middle of their defense. There it is, the transfer portal, the NBA playoffs, and how it looks in the middle for the Wolverines. And that's where we'll start it, right there at defensive tackle. Let's take a look at the scholarship. Donovan Jeter looked like he was going to be there for Michigan, joining up in the spring. That didn't happen. You see Welshoff. And then right there in the middle is the name, I would say the household name right now, in Mazi Smith, number 58. And the thing about Mazi is that I remember last year heading into spring, and then after spring, remember we didn't get to see the spring game. There was a little bit of buzz about, and there always is, like, hey, who's having a good spring? Who's, who looks good? Oh, things that you might want to know if you're a Michigan follower, certainly a Michigan fan. And Mazi Smith's name came up a lot. And you always have to take those, this guy looked great in spring, with a grain of salt, but Mazi Smith ended up looking really good when he came out and had a heck of a year. And John Jansen during the spring game mentioned Smith and his improvement just overall and how he looked in his body composition and however he's going in with training or diet, it's noticeable. So that's good. And losing Chris Hinton to the pros, and you say, all right, who's going to be the stalwart next to Mazi Smith? Candidate number one, Chris Jenkins, would be the one. We got a depth chart here for you. Let's pull that depth chart up right there in the middle. Mazi Smith, and that's who you would look to. Chris Jenkins, they as much as we could sit here and talk about a 3 technique, 5 technique, or the defensive end and a 3-4, or if it's going to be sometimes like Michigan flex back to a traditional 4-3, maybe it'll be Rooks. It'll be 58 and 54. But as we saw in the spring, you would see 94 and 58 lining up next to each other. Now, if you're a real, I don't know, do you have to be an X's and O's person or somebody just really understands defensive alignments, understands what they're trying to do, the 3 to 5 technique, or what you're trying to do in a 3-4? I think that with U of M and with other teams, I mean, you can get, you want to get the best 4, certainly the best 2 right there in the middle. And right now, Jenkins and Smith look to be the ones on the inside for Michigan heading into the upcoming season. The good thing for the Michigan football team, as I say every single time I'm out here and I look at the 2 deep, is that Michigan has an opportunity to play a lot of guys, get into a real rotation into the season where they're not sitting there and they're not starting out the season with Alabama and Texas, or they're not playing Florida down there, or they're not playing another Power 5 school. They're playing Colorado State, and then they're playing Hawaii and UConn. Everybody listed here should all be able to, if healthy, get out there and participate and compete getting into the Big Ten season, and then getting into the first road game on October the 1st, when U of M starts out a 2-game trip, going to Iowa, and then following it, going to Bloomington the following week to play Indiana. But if you had to write it down here today, which we're talking about the 18th of April, even though if you looked outside the studio here and said, "What's the date?" You might say uh, December 28th or something, as the snow falls outside the studio. No, it is now even past mid April, and the snow is coming down. But if you had to write down two names that you would see in the opener, likely 58 and 94 next to each other. Now, getting on to some other news, the transfer portal. You see a lot of if you're somebody that goes to Twitter, you're somebody that is involved in the Wolverine Den, part of the Maize and Blue Review. You'll see people speculating about the transfer portal, and you'll say, "Hey, this guy's available, that guy's available," and you saw a real I don't know, household name, a local phenom in Amani Bates. He put his name into the transfer portal over the weekend. So naturally, if you're a Michigan fan, you're going to say you've heard about Amani Bates for 4 or 5 years. Going to be the next LeBron James. It didn't materialize for him this year. Committed to Michigan State, then decommitted. Ended up, as you know, going to Memphis, and now maybe not to a surprise to anyone. He's out there in the transfer portal. You say, dude, you want if you could get Amani Bates? That's the question. But first, the question for Michigan, and you have to look at the scholarship list here. And if you look at the scholarship list, I have it up on the screen. You've got 13 available scholarships, and you know that Hunter Dickinson, Musa Diabate and Caleb Houston all entered their name in the NBA draft for consideration, and they have till June 1st to make a decision whether they keep it there or want to come back to U of M. If all three of those guys decide to come back to U of M, Michigan has no scholarships to give out. Now, is there a chance that they could flex? Juwan Howard could flex either of his sons into walk-on status, Jace or Jet. I don't know. Is there a rule preventing coaches' sons where they could circumvent? And I know there's also been some talk like maybe you could find somebody else to circumvent. Now that you have name, image, and likeness, where you can say, "Hey, we'll hook you up. You're not technically on scholarship, but with our name, image, and likeness, we'll be able to endow another scholarship through name, image, and likeness." I don't know how that works out. Like if you're if you're a 4-star or something like that, how could you go and then just walk on? So, I think for these purposes here, that I think Michigan feels like that while they have 3 guys and they're doing what's in the best interest for themselves, which we all understand, Michigan should do what's in the best interest of the basketball program, and that's going out and looking for a potential big man, 2 big men, if you consider, Diabate, certainly frontline guys, and then a wing and a shooter in Caleb Houston. Will these guys remain in? We speculated a lot on that. I thought Hunter was as good as gone, but if there's one guy that with the name, image, and likeness, you think that could make some money off of that, it would be Hunter Dickinson. Has great name recognition. The thing about Diabate and with Houston, why they could leave their names in the NBA draft, even though nobody has them being picked in the first round. I think these guys could think, I could be the next Jordan Poole. I could be the next Duncan Robinson. Nobody thought, and it's fun for Michigan fans, and maybe there were a few. I see this, it's played out over the last 2-3 years, ever since Jordan Poole got drafted, because I like many others that when we saw Jordan Poole put his name in there and say, Jordan Poole's not going to get picked, in the first round, what's he doing? And then he did. And now he's come out, and he had a fantastic weekend, and Nobody saw what was going on with Duncan Robinson either. Those guys, they believe in their talent, and it's fun if you're a Michigan fan to say, "Oh yeah, look at that! Nobody believed in these guys, and look at them now." So Musa Diabate could look at that and say, "Yeah, nobody's. It only takes one team to pick me, and look at it. And you just get in there and you believe in your talent." And then the one thing with both Diabate and with Caleb Houston, Houston's from Canada, and Diabate is French. He's from France. Is that when it comes down to name, image, and likeness, those guys cannot benefit with NLI. And so, is it better for them to then go to the pros and maybe go to the G League where they can get paid, and then see what, or just go to the G League instead of coming back to Michigan for a sophomore year? With how those things in the work visas, but that could be something to take a look at. But if you're a Michigan basketball player and you're sitting there and think, you know what, nobody thought Poole, nobody thought Robinson, and look at these guys now. It could work. While certainly it gives Michigan visibility, and it's nice and all that. But also for those guys on the team saying, "Hey, why not me? Why can't I be the next Poole? Why can't I be the next Duncan Robinson?" Let's look at some of those names that potentially are in well, they're in the transfer portal that potentially could be coming into Michigan. And everything that we say here with the names that we see: Shannon, Bates, and Aimaq, a graduate from Utah Valley. He would be coming in as a grad student. You see the guy on the bottom, 6'11". Like if Hunter Dickinson decided that he was going to go, would Michigan then want to, get a big man like the Utah Valley big there? Yeah, so he would be in play there. And something that's important is coming in as a grad student. That's a lot easier to get into the transfer portal and get into Michigan. With Shannon and Bates, transferring in is difficult. Michigan has a tough policy on transferring credits. Many Michigan fans know this. Like, okay, what are you telling me? Everybody knows this. Not everybody knows it, but Michigan, while to gain entrance as from high school to college, Michigan mostly has the standard of most top 25 schools. There might be, it might be a little bit different with all of them, but it's certainly not where you have to be like the regular the A+ student across the board. We know that, but when it does come down to transfer credits, Michigan does not have a policy right now that makes it easy for those credits to transfer in. Will they change that? I don't think so. Should they change it? If they want to be able to take advantage of what is happening in college sports right now, basketball and football and every other sport too, but in particular football and basketball, other teams are. If they want to get the best talent, they should look at that. It's easy for me to say, yeah, change it so you can get the best players in. There's a lot of Michigan students, a lot of Michigan alums saying, "Look, we don't want to bend. We bend on the entrance. Now we're not bending on transfer credits." So we'll see on that. It doesn't look. It's when I say it's not happening anytime soon. It's not happening like with this particular cycle. So and I haven't heard anybody come out and say that they're looking at this and they're going to try to change it. So when it comes down to the 6'11" grad, that I would think that would be dependent on Hunter Dickinson. But if Diabate went 6'11", maybe they would look to him. Bates, do I think Michigan would be interested in Amani Bates? I think you're interested, but maybe not all that interested. You say Bates and baggage is one. His dad's influence. Bates, since he's been in eighth grade, has been called the next LeBron James, and went to his own high school. But you pretty much know the story here, and it might not. It just might not be worth it for a Big Ten team. It might not be worth it for Michigan. He might say, "Hey, thanks, no thanks. We'll try something else." A talent. Can he find a spot? And would it be Michigan? I will say unlikely, very unlikely when it comes down to Bates. Shannon's a player, a junior, a wing, a scorer, 6'6" from Texas Tech that is getting a lot of interest across the board in college basketball. And there has even been, I see it online. I haven't seen him in Ann Arbor myself. I hadn't seen this substantiated yet that he is coming in to take a visit. And you can do that even when you don't have any scholarships, with the idea that, hey, maybe Michigan might know something about one of the guys keeping their names in there. But the thing about Shannon, is the interest real? And I look at his, and I'll add it here. Here's his Twitter page. Let's look. This is Terrence Shannon Jr.'s Twitter page. And you see it yesterday. He says, Happy Easter. And I'll echo that. Just like TS Jr. there. Happy Easter. Hope everybody had a great Easter yesterday. And here's some of the tweets. He also had a tweet about Pop's going to be special. I don't know who Pop is. There's a guy with a hand over his face, an emoji. I don't know what that's regarding here. But here's a tweet from a couple days ago. What is this, Friday? And Shannon says, tough. And he has a video of Jet Howard, Michigan incoming a basketball freshman for 2022, the 6'5" guard from Fort Lauderdale, the 4-star. Jawan's son, Jet Howard, and it says shows why scouts love his game at the Jordan Brand Classic practices yesterday. And they got a fire emoji, and they got Jet Howard. Then they have video of Jet. I thought about putting up it's not like we've talked about before. There's video that's very impressive, and then there's video of there's some dude throwing up a three, and this dude, in this case, is Jet. This is not like, so he's just hitting a wide open three set shot there. That's doing nothing. All right. He put on a little bit of a move there. Here's another one, a little rock to the right, fade away from the free throw line. Here's somebody in his face. Look like a little bit of a step back. That's nice. There's somebody else on him, a little rainbow. Take that. He got it. Was this the wide open one? I think so. Yeah, it's not here's another wide open J. String music in the open floor, throwing it down. Good to see. But nothing, spectacular about that video. Hey, look, he could be great and everything. Just nothing that's really blowing me away. But the thing here about Terrence Shannon is that he's rumored to be interested in Michigan, trying to transfer in. We'll see what happens with admissions, or if it's really going to happen, if Michigan has a scholarship. But here is yet another maybe indication of his interest in the Wolverines, him giving a retweet up top of Jet Howard and calling him tough. There you go. That's the kind of it's the kind of investigation you need to do. Kind of things that you'd say it could mean something, it might not mean anything, but it's there, and it's something at least to consider when you're talking about Terrence Shannon. So that's what I see. We talked about Antoine Davis out of U of D. What's the perfect fit for Michigan? Well, we don't know who they're going to lose, right? So if it would be Hunter Dickinson, could you see what they want then? A big man over a shooter? You can make a case for a point guard, although they do have Doug McDaniel coming in, true freshman point guard. You saw it this year, even with Frankie Collins. It took a little time, but Frankie Collins, Frankie Collins look like he could be a starting point guard for Michigan heading into the season? Yes, he does to me. And Doug McDaniel is supposed to be, lights out, fast, and maybe McDaniel will be ready to go at the point guard position. So you can make a case that they don't need a point. What about two guard? Well, they get Kobe Buffkin, who played a little bit this year. Other than that, coming in, none of the guys, Jet, maybe you can say Jet Howard that we just saw shooting those Jays. Maybe you can talk about him being a two guard, but 2, 3, Caleb Houston, he's more of a forward, more of a wing. And that's where Shannon, he could be a 2, he could be a 3. They need a shooter. I think they looking for somebody where you say, well, the skill set would be, being able to do it all. Come in, be a two guard, or you could be a 2 or a 3, somebody that could do it all. Yeah, that's what you want. But if you're looking for one attribute, being able to be a lights out, knockdown shooter, that would be, I think, the priority. Now, that's not necessarily Shannon's forte. Um, Looks to be more of that score. Did increase his 3-point shooting last year. And the thing about Antoine Davis is that he's just a flat out score gunner, give him the ball, but getting somebody that's an offensive weapon is also is nice. And both Shannon and Davis fit that bill. And Bates, like I said, wild card, not likely. Put his name up here because everybody knows it. And you don't completely rule him out, although you mostly do. I think a lot of people roll their eyes and it's not going to happen. All of those sort of things. So, but it is because of the interest or name recognition, I should say, when it comes down to Monty Bates. All right. Thanks for watching. I'd like to see you on the Wolverine Den, part of the Maize and Blue. Again, we're here every day, part of Rivals.com, afternoon live. Dennis Fithy oftentimes would bring on guests, but we'll talk about Michigan football, Michigan basketball. We'll do it all summer. Everybody have a great day. Enjoy this. If you're somebody that, I don't know, can you enjoy it looks like a good inch of snow out right now. If you're somebody that can enjoy a nice 1, 2, 3 inches of snow here in Southeast Michigan, enjoy it. And until tomorrow at 1 o'clock, we'll talk with you then here on Afternoon Live. Thanks for watching or listening. We'll